Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your reading. One moment. Where's my clock? Where is it? There it is. Okay. Turn that baby on. All right, cool. Let's turn. I'm gonna go off camera a little bit so I can have my meditative zone. Wait, what is happening? Okay. Stop there. Okay. Oh, actually, before that, hold on. Okay. 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 Got it. Got it. Wait one sec. Okay, wait one sec. I'm looking for something with Amber, my conversation with her. Okay, here it is. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. So, um I'm really, really sorry about what happened to you, um, to your husband. I actually remember Amber messaged me the day it happened. I remember praying about it, and feeling that pain, which, yeah, obviously not knowing that I would do reading for you, but I guess on that, fucked up stuff happens in life, and there's still, there's still always a God. There's still always, some type of it's so difficult to say it. There, like, there is an order, there is a way. Like, things happen for a reason, but it's the last thing you want to hear when something horrible like that happens, right? But um, I've had different clients who've been in situations like that, and and I've talked to some where it's their way, it's been like 20 years since something like that happened, and they always, like, obviously there's still that pain, but they understand that, this happened, that there is some karmic reason for it to happen. Um, but with it being a murder, I hope, I'm not triggering by saying that word. Yeah, it's a really tough one to call. I'm not trying to say that because of that happening to him that he karmically deserved that. No, when I say karma, I'm making a general statement that things happen sometimes for the opposite reason as we think. But that there is, I guess, like, the light at the end of the tunnel is that you will see him again. You know, it won't be in this life, but you will see him again. And um, actually, some other interesting things I've learned relate to how sometimes souls who really, really love each other will make sacrifices for souls they love. So that can come in the form of incarnating as that person's parent and taking on a natal chart that really triggers that person, but actually forces them to really grow as a soul. And another variation could be, one soul that loves another soul so much and wants that soul to progress, right? Because what we're talking about here is soul progression, so much that they decide, like, I'm going to get killed. And it's going to feel like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And you're going to miss me. It's going to be horrible, but you're going to, because of it, you're going to get to a place that you otherwise would have not been able to get. And I know it sounds crazy. It might sound shocking, but when I just read your message just now from Amber, she said something on lines of like, you're truly like learning who you are. Especially without, like without him in the picture. I don't know your guys' history, but yeah, and I'm really, really sorry that happened. Even with all the stuff I said, those are just my beliefs. So I'm not trying to impose them onto you. But yeah, I mean, belief. Yeah, I don't know why I call them beliefs because it's things I know, but like, yeah, I guess to others it would be considered an opinion because it's not scientifically proven, but you get what I mean. Um, okay, so let's share this. Okay. So yeah, you are a Cap Sun with a. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Oh, that this is the craziest synchronicity. So you have what's called a combust or invisible Venus. I literally was just, you know, reading about that. Um, Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, where was that tab? Here. Okay. Where's the zoom? No, not that one. Why is my camera? God. Okay. So I was just reading about this and um okay. So yeah, it says yeah, so combust, it's like your Venus, the planet gets kind of exploded by the sun or taken over by the sun. So there's like a combust Venus, which can give problems with marriage slash long-term relationships, often can indicate hidden such Venus is invisible after all, lack of harmony, divorce, etc. So the person can purify Venus and unfold its higher vibration. So really, people with that they can have codependency issues, um, later in the article they talk about a sacrifice, how like a lot of people with that sometimes have to make like an ultimate sacrifice out of love. And it's really about learning self-love, right? So the person can purify Venus and unfold its higher vibration, internal harmony and peace, appreciation of the beauty of the world, the beauty of virtue and kindness also qualifies which build treasures for heaven or eternal life and not on just a temporary incarnation. This can also give problems with money if one is focused on just on the external goal of acquisition of material things, blah blah blah. For example, letting go of a comfortably paying job to pursue their mission. Then they make Venus serve the sun, higher goals. Venus, when in comfort, is temporarily sacrificed, transformed into soul love for something bigger, the sun. And then a moment comes when the sun rewards Venus. God blesses the person with all the luxuries they might want, but not before they give them up first, transform the desire for these. And when they receive them, they no longer become attached to these Venusian joys. How beautiful is this? Um, and it says, yeah, Vedic astrology says if three or more planets are, yeah, you don't have that. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, here goes. For example, if you have Venus combust, it can mean that at some point you decide to sacrifice a relationship for your career or bigger life goals. The stronger the sun is by sign, the bigger the sacrifice is. But usually, when the sun is in such a good dignity, it is a truly higher and noble goal. Yeah, so that's interesting. But yeah, I just want to have that pulled up for later. Okay. So so Sun in Capricorn with Venus there on the midheaven. So really, you are a Aries rising. So you're really, when your Sun is on the 10th house on the midheaven, your purpose is very much your dharma, your public dharma. Um, what's interesting is that you have a 12th house Pisces moon. Oh my God. So the moon, obviously the moon, think of it like the masculine and feminine side, right? The sun is our masculine, the moon is our feminine. So your masculine side Capricorn, yeah. I don't really talk about sun signs that people know, what Capricorn energy is, right? Um, but yeah, it's that very, um, it's earth sign, it's very consistent, it's very good at, it's very success driven. Capricorns usually their first 30 years are quite difficult, but they, get better with time, and they're very, very good at setting their mind to something and being, yeah, just being consistent. They're all about foundations. Sometimes they can be overly traditional, and yeah, and a little bit negative, and overly critical. But they're people, they're legit people. Like they're in the sense of, like, they're people, they're respected people who are really truly doing, they're here to do things. They're not just mucking around, as they say. So that's a really, really strong sun. Um, and having on the midheaven makes the sun even stronger. So, and having Venus close to midheaven is very, very, it means that beauty is likely to be a theme in your career, and it's career slash dharma, right? Because not everyone has a career. That's a very modern time thing. So think of, like, like some people's dharma is to be a mom, you know? Some it's like a spiritual dharma, right? So the fact that it's in Capricorn, though, I imagine that it involves some type of responsibility. And Capricorn's really, really on a high vibe, feel very good when what they're doing, they truly know that it's like it's for the greater good. I know that's usually associated with Aquarius, but Capricorn energy, like, they're the elder. They like to do things, like, they really get a lot of meaning. Like, the high vibe is like honor, right? They like, and yeah, sometimes they like, it could also be like building like something in real estate, or building a business, or working in a company, right? There's Capricorns are people who can do, who can really, really get through really hard times and have such amazing perseverance. And yeah, so having, and the fact, yeah, so having that mission is going to be very important. And Saturn is in the ninth, is ruling you have a lot of Capricorns, so the ruling planet Saturn is in the ninth house. So that makes, so this is something I talk about a lot. I've created a lot of my own work are things that I've invented. Um, like just through my own thoughts, my own downloads, my own. I'm sure your sister watches some of my videos. Like I just create stuff on this. Like things just come to me, right? And then I work with them my readings, and then I test out things that are correct with clients. But yeah, so this ninth, 10th thing, right? That's the house of Sagittarius. So and 10th house is the house of Capricorn. Or link it's not it's yeah, linked to those, right? So um whenever I see those two houses, so in this case, I really do believe that you with Saturn there, your first 30 years probably there's a lot of astrologers who have Saturn in the ninth house. People who are really, after they turn 30, they get really interested in learning about the truth. And they really want to like see a different worldview. Um, but the fact that Saturn is in Sag it's very likely that for whatever reason that was blocked off, like you weren't able to do that. Um, for like the first 30 years, maybe family, who knows? So yeah, so right now it's just important to take risks, like to travel different countries, learn different philosophies, just things that can like develop your idea of what truth means, right? Truth is something that's always evolving within us. And what I was going to say is that the ninth, 10th is it's speaking about how in your life you're meant to go through different experiences and to always be open-minded and to always be like you're like an iPhone, like where you're updating, right? You have updates. Um, so yeah, yeah. So it's like you go through those updates, and then let's say your like your ninth house, your main core beliefs. Let's say you start off, it's like making as much money as possible is the most important thing, right? Well, then that's gonna make it so your 10th house, which reflects what you're doing, your career, all that, is gonna be like, okay, I need to work in finance. I need to spend all my time working and making money. But then let's say you have like a spiritual experience, or you go to a different country, you see how people are living, you go to India or something like that. I don't know, and then you get into astrology, or you get into some form of spirituality, and your worldview changes from like, oh, it's not about making so much money, it's about finding my true creative gifts, what my true purpose is, like what I'm really here to do, my purpose, and then to do my purpose, right? To find a way to help the world in my specific way, right? And also to grow as a human and all these other things, right? So that and then so that ninth house, this part involves you going out in the world, being open-minded, like different cultures, different like the kind of trial and error that takes to truly find something, that's really your purpose, right? And then you have that updating where you've updated your beliefs of truth and what's important. So then you take it to that 10th house, and you start to make a change in what you want to do, what you're doing, right? Let's say it's like you really think, oh, I'm really good at therapy, you know? So you go to psychology school. So that's kind of a theme, but with Saturn there can be some restrictions, but also there can be really, really hard work. That's why a lot of astrologers have that, because astrology is so much, it's very, ninth house is very, it has a lot in common with astrology. So um that's why there's a lot of astrologers that have that there, because astrologers often, it's after their Saturn return. A lot of them like start becoming astrologers later in life anyways. Um, so yeah, it can be a real superpower. And the fact that you have Uranus also in the ninth house means that you're gonna have quite eccentric, unconventional beliefs anyways. So so yeah, I mean, everyone I know that has that placement, it's funny because most people I know with that placement, they had like religion pushed on them a lot when they were growing up, and they all rejected it, and most of them ended up being like just it makes one very unique with respect to their philosophical outlook, you could say, and their overarching, yeah, life philosophies. So yeah, um, and also they seek philosophies that give them a lot of freedom, you know, and they want to have lots of trial and error, and also it makes one have like lots of interesting trips and interesting kind of like out of the blue experiences, like maybe this one is right, like people who can teach you stuff, and also you could be like a very interesting teacher as well. So when we speak about that and the fact that, you know, Capricorn can be the business mogul, but it can also be the person that really wants to give back, you know, who really wants to do something that they know has integrity and has honor. Um, so the talent of Capricorn is the ability, um, and you have, yeah, and so this is amazing. So so you have, so your ascendant, right? That's like your personality. That's kind of like the mask you wear in life, how people see you when they talk to you and all that. Um, it's like the outer shell. If you are an egg, the ascendant is the shell, the sun is the white. It's like your identity, and the moon is the yolk in the middle. It's your unconscious emotional needs. It's how you feel secure, what you need to truly feel happy and grounded, right? That's why the moon sign is. I just did a poll, and like nearly, I think like, yeah, around 1,000 people voted, and it ended up being like 40% said that they connected most with their moon sign. And there's like 20, around 20 for ascendant, 20, or like 18 for, I forget exactly, but yeah, it was like double sun or ascendant or Venus Mars. So yeah, so like a lot of times people when they have like a lot of Earth, they lack fire. So I was really hoping that you had some strong fire energy, because when you have a lot of Capricorn, you're really good at being able to pursue things for the long haul. Like for example, like the person who does real estate. Sorry, I just my family does real estate, so it's just the example. I know I'm apologizing, but that's just my example. Like real estate is something that you know, you need that patience, right? So, but like the thing is that you need that fire, so that Aries ascendant, Aries is like the most dominant, like go-getter, independent sign. So Aries ascendants, they need that thrill of life, of movement, and they're very good self-starters. So you have both. So you have the ability to start new ventures in any area of life, and then also to follow through on them for the long term. So it's awesome. Um, Now, aside from that, now we're gonna get to more of the psychological um balance here. So your sun and your moon, Pisces and Gem and Aquarius, or in Capricorn. My favorite DJ, Armin van Buuren, favorite artist, he has that also. So I love this combo. Everyone I've met with this combo, I've adored. And the reason is that it creates people who, and you have Venus on the midheaven. So people with Venus on the midheaven can be professional artists, by the way, just so you know, or seen by by the world is very like kind of beautiful, like kind of like a nice aura. Like for someone that was like, let's say working on social media, like having Venus on the midheaven is amazing. And the sun too, because you'd be seen by people that don't even know you as very like charming, very warm, and then also very like someone that has a level of, you know, real, like that just screams responsible and and powerful, like, but not like in a bad power trip type way. Um, But then there's your moon in Pisces. So your sun and your moon do sextile. Typically that means that there's a, it usually doesn't indicate, although I've seen it do different things. Um, it usually doesn't indicate a bad relationship between mom and dad, but it, but I've seen people with that have their parents divorced. But I think of it more as in terms of like the main messages that you received from each parent being pretty in sync to where there's not this huge um gap, or like tension between what mom taught and what dad taught, what you got from both of them. But um just in general, Pisces moon is, especially in the 12th house, this is a split in your chart because even though they do sextile each other, Capricorn 10th house is very, very, as I said, public, meant to do big things for the in the public scope. But then your Pisces moon makes you super, super sensitive, and it's not something that people are going to see. So I would not I would not be surprised at all if your experience with certain people who, whether they're partners or good friends, that they were surprised when they got to know you better by how sensitive you are and how much time you need, that need for alone time. And it's so, so important for a Pisces moon to have alone time because you are a complete empath, um, a sponge for energy, good and bad. So it's a double-edged sword. It makes you super able. You literally, like, on an unconscious level, you pick up on all the energy of people around you. So that's why I like, oh, and then yeah, Pisces moons, they just go through so much on an internal level that they need to kind of reset and have that time alone, where they can retreat. So it's like the mix of like being that kind of role model, you know, person with a big mission, but then to know that, like, for example, if you spend like full day, like the environment where you work, where you live, who you live with, all that stuff is so, so important for you. Your imagination, your intuition, all that stuff is so, so deep, and you have such an amazing grasp on, like, there's a really deep understanding of the world, um, like the zeitgeist, you could say. And yeah, so it's interesting. And but yeah, like with Pisces moon, so it would be something where you really like, in order to be happy, in order to be secure, you need people in your life who allow you to dream. Like, it's not healthy for a Pisces moon, to be with someone who has self-limiting beliefs because they can start to take some of those on for themselves. Um, Also, like, paying attention to your dream life, your dreams, really important because there can be lots of hidden messages in those that are very important. Um, and one little like trick for for Pisces moons is using video cameras or your phone and filming yourself, just talking about your emotions. And you don't have to show anyone. But Neptune, which rules Pisces, rule, and also mirrors, like affirmations in the mirror. I make videos like that's what I do on my Instagram. I don't know if you follow me. It's at Jesse and it's an Astro, and my videos are not all astrology. Like, I talk about whatever I want to talk about, right? But like, I don't post even close to all the videos I record. I record them all the time. I only post the ones that, like, it's like my own therapy. Um, and I'm a Pisces, by the way. So yeah. Um, so yeah, those are like some things that's like a little technique that I've told a lot of people about. It's really helped out a lot of people. And it helps you understand yourself. But as the Pisces moon in the 12th house, that could makes someone who really has, so that gives more clues to that dharma. It's someone who really wants to be of service, right? That's like a healer, someone who could be a healer, who, you know, has such a deep empathy and compassion and wants to find a way to use it to better the world. But and yeah, and it's like, yeah, very creative. So it's like, so it's, yeah, as I was saying before, it's the ability to have that inspiration, but then also create out of it. Because a lot of people, if like, who have like ton of Pisces, like they have all the best ideas, but they just don't have the ability and the discipline to, and the self-belief to really follow through on it. But, you know, any Pisces placements like that, sometimes there can be issues with identity. Um, that's why, you know, when you're alone, so like one thing I always say with Pisces moons, like, you know, if you're around, like understanding like what you are at your base level energetically is really important. Because like, let's say you go around person A, you're around this person for a few days, you go camping with them, around now, you not, you're on a trip with someone for work or whatever. Um, or it's like a relationship thing, who knows? Um, whatever, you know, any kind of business relationship, friendship, romantic, whatever. Basically, being able to know what what I call like, if it's on a scale of -10 to 10, what your zero is, right? So it's, let's say you spend time with this person and you come back to where you're alone, to your safe place, you know, and you feel into your energy, and you can deduce from feeling into that, like, oh shit, I feel like I'm like a -3 right now. And then you spend some time alone and you realize that it wasn't your energy. You were taking on something that was not yours, right? So I can't say it enough, the importance of emotional boundaries, spiritual energetic boundaries for Pisces moons. So important. And the thing with Pisces moons though is that, you know, it can be tough for them to have those boundaries because they want to help, they want to help, they want to help. Um, but yeah, like it really is about like seeing, okay, like, you know, what do I need in my life to be my best self, right? And just knowing that, you know, that you're more affected than others when it comes to, you know, external factors, right? So even just that awareness is massive. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of the split between the two, is like, how can you be grounded? How can you, you know, still accomplish all those Capricornian goals while still, you know, having time for yourself, and in relationships and of all sorts as well. Just knowing that, you know, it's not like, you know, it's not bad to have solo time, right? Um, it's actually like the most healthy thing. So yeah, besides that, Pisces moons, yeah, they just need to be exposed to the magic in the world. You know, they need to feel like anything is possible. Spirituality is a huge one for Pisces moons. They have a natural um ability to connect in that way and just understand what might be hard for many to understand. So yeah. And luckily with Jupiter where it is for you, that also speaks to someone who, you know, that's a very humanitarian placement of Jupiter in the 11th in Aquarius. Typically that placement is very good for friends. And hold on, I want to test my test. Okay, cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, typically Yeah, yeah. So Pisces moons, um, yeah, they just need to be in touch with their imaginations and have some type of creative outlet, whatever it is, and yeah, just be. And a lot of times, 12th house moon people, they like to be kind of in like behind the scenes, like they sometimes prefer to do that. But that's kind of the thing with your chart, is that there's one part that's very much, but like you can still like have a type of, career or life purpose where it is a mix of behind the scenes and um you know out there in the world, or like maybe even better to say would be behind the scenes, but like still doing what you're supposed to be doing, that Capricornian dharma, but something that gives you more freedom. Because Pisces moons can get very, very dissuaded by the whole rat race, you know, corporate life type stuff. It's not that they can't do it, because another thing about Pisces is that it's the chameleon energy, right? So the shapeshifters, like they can just adapt really, really well, but they have to watch out that at the moon level to not take on emotions that aren't theirs, right? So it's like a lot of Pisces moons I know in the 12th house too, which could, I've seen that with people who have taken on energy from their mothers that aren't theirs, like negative energy. And yeah, it's like this huge moment in their life, um, when they realize, oh, that's not mine. And they create boundaries even with people that, yeah, like I've had like lots of clients that have had to do that with their parents if their parents are problematic. Um, and yeah, so then your moon, yeah, okay, I was saying about Jupiter. So yeah, Jupiter 11th house usually gives, yeah, because it gives a lot of very good karmic luck, and and it's just very good for friends, and it's just very good for having, when you're headed in that real life purpose direction. Sometimes with that placement, it takes longer for people with that to figure it out. Um, there can be like lots of trial and error before they get to where they, like, in lots of different steps, like in their life before they get to their true purpose. But everything is like, but they get very lucky with like meeting the right people, joining the right groups, all that stuff. There's lots of good karma there. Like I have Jupiter 11, for example, and it seems like, I've lived in lots of different places and I always get very lucky, um, with who I meet, like friends and stuff. So, yeah, it's a nice one for sure. One second. But yeah, I'm just not sure if you can hear that well right now. Okay. Yeah, so it is really important, with the Pisces moon to, yeah, to really just like lean into that spiritual side, and yeah, like kind of I always say that, like, we live in this world where everything is about the physical money value, right? But it's really about having one foot in the spiritual Pisces and one foot in the physical Capricorn. So finding ways to have both of those met, I think, is very, very key. Also, a lot of times people who have sun on the midheaven can have very influential fathers, or fathers who like played a big role in their lives. Sometimes they're like, very powerful people, or just had like a very powerful influence over them, especially as it reflects, their main goals and like what they think is really important for them to do on the, in the world. And yeah, so also the fact that you have Vesta on your sun in Capricorn, that will make you a very, very passionate worker, someone who really wants to, who really, really wants to give their all, but not, it's not like a work that's like boring. It's like something like that really gets to, it's like about like finding that thing that really um lights your fire, and then with that Capricorn energy, just being able to get, because like I said, having tons of Capricorn, the first 30 years are, you get tested a lot. Your resolve gets tested. You have to go through stuff that most people don't have to go through. But then after the first 30 years, that Saturn return, the energy gets easier, right? I mean, we don't know. Like, we'll see when we do our current astrology reading. But yeah, like we see things, the energetic load, getting less, but you're still left with this great resolve and determination and all that. Um, but yeah, like having, so yeah, it's like the flame of, what you deem most sacred. So, whatever that is for you, which I would imagine would be something, related to this sort of helping the world in some way. Um, yeah, you'd be able to be like a great leader in that sense. Someone who can really, really do things for people. But yeah, with Jupiter there, it's just, yeah. So it's like when you are really thinking about your metaphysical footprint, the stuff that, helping people, um, that's really massive. Um, but yeah, I just can't stress enough how important it is to constantly check in with yourself and to have like those really strong boundaries with people with as a Pisces moon, because like I've seen Pisces moons who, like, they meet someone, they move too fast into judging this person as a good person, um and then they just get kind of screwed over by like the energy vampire types. So yeah, it's very, very important to, in any kind of like, any kind of with any kind of person or any kind of job or anything that comes up in life, to really um take it slow. But yeah, so interesting. And yeah, and then Mercury is in Capricorn, so that gives one like a very rational mind, someone who's able to, be very good with plans. Um, and the fact that it's on your midheaven, that is the placement of someone who can have more than one career, very multi-talented. They could also have a career in something related to speak, that you know uses their ability to speak, like sales or something like that, or marketing, whatever, anything that involves um, speaking. But the usual manifestation I see of that is someone who can have the money maker, but the passion, and over time, the goal is for the passion to become the main thing, or the money maker, or whatever, replace it. So yeah, and a lot of times it does give that ability to switch up. Like people with that, yeah, can definitely go through different careers. So yeah. Now, a really important aspect you have is Moon square Uranus. So Uranus over here, square your Moon. Um, so that, typically people who have that, they have an emotional need for change. A lot of people I've seen with that actually had parents who divorced, interestingly. Um, or that, or like most people with that I've seen with that, they had to move around a lot growing up. Um, like my parents were divorced, for example, and I was like 2 weeks with mom, 2 weeks with dad, that kind of thing, right? Um, but what it does as one grows up is that on an emotional level, it can make the emotions, well, it has a few different ways it manifests, but one of them is that it can kind of swing things a little bit all over the place emotionally. Like there can be this sort of obsession for the new, for always wanting something new. So, that can make it difficult to be grounded when one is constantly wanting change. So in any type of situation, career, life, whatever, um, there's just that need to have something that really like meets your intellectual goals, right? It gives you that stimulation. And yeah, so it can make people like their emotions can sometimes swing back and forth. And as the Pisces moon, like I said, that's very sensitive, very emotional moon sign. And but yeah, there can be like, yeah, almost like a compulsive need for stimulation. So it definitely makes fun people. Um, very independent though. So the whole thing about needing space, that could be a big theme um in a chart like this. And I think yeah, like so, and I know what happened, but I still in my readings I always talk about love needs, just because like this reading, a natal chart reading, you get done once, right? So I that's just something I talk about, right? But yeah, I would say like, and it's not just in relationships, it's more, yeah, more in general, that there is that need to, yeah, to have that stimulation and things changing and all that. Um, but yeah, it definitely makes someone who's an outside the box thinker, someone who can be a little bit compulsive, but very, very unique and rebellious. Um, and yeah, like I said, like a lot of people with this, when they're growing up, they just want to move to from one place to the next. But as a Pisces moon, it's really, really important to just feel that groundedness of where, with where you're at, like to feel that deep connection with wherever it is that you live. Super important. Like that feeling like you're at in a metaphoric home within yourself, wherever you go. Um, but yeah, so it can be a little bit erratic, and it can create issues with relationships and friendships and stuff, because um like it can make someone like form really, really quick emotional bonds to people, but then have issues maintaining them over the long term. Um, there can be, and a lot of times it comes from usually it's the mom, but a parent who was emotionally detached in some way. And yeah, it can just make someone who, and that also is shown with that Mercury on the midheaven, who can be quite bored quite easily. Um, and so even in relationships of all sorts, there is a need for that like emotional stimulation. Um, and yeah, like a lot of times people with that, they had an upbringing where they had quite a bit of freedom, and they want to continue to have that as they grow up and and they get older. And also when it comes to children, if you have children, a lot of times people with that will nurture their children in more unorthodox ways. Not bad, just you know, very unique approach to parenting. Um, and yeah, the whole crux is that it's a struggle between um detachment and independence and emotional nurturing, right? And like too much of one and not enough of the other can cause some issues, right? A lot of times also people with that, they don't get on too well with authority figures. Not really big fans of tradition. That's also shown. Uranus ninth house is usually like, they want to find the answers on their own, right? But yeah, it's a great placement for entertainment, for being an entertaining person and an exciting person, right? And then also very inventive and um very, very humanistic. Um Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people with that who are homemade, who like build homes, um, just like where they can find something that like involves that creativity, with that change. So it is definitely like I would say a more entrepreneurial, but also Capricorn can be very good at, at working, for companies and stuff like that. So there's a lot of potentials. Um, but yeah, the Aries rising, it definitely gives one that kind of boss energy, and yeah, that ability to start things and to not be afraid to say what needs to be said. And yeah, so with the North Node, right? The North, so South Node is in Scorpio, so you definitely have some very, very magical past life kind of powers when it comes to mysticism, and innately you have that. Perhaps, you were, I don't like to say like you were a witch in a past life, but perhaps you have past lives where you practiced magic or you practiced something esoteric, occult, or you were a healer, right? There's a lot of different potentials. And also your nodes are trining Neptune, so that actually sounds like witch for sure, or mystical something for sure, right? That's a planet linked to mysticism, or even entertainer, right? Like, but yeah, because it's Scorpio and Neptune, I definitely think I resonate more with something spiritual. So in this life, with your North Node, right, in Taurus, you're trying to figure out, and it's close to your ascendant, right? So you're really, really trying to figure out, like there's been a past life tendency to be too attached to relationships, and also your South Node is with Pluto, so that shows that you've been a very powerful person. You've been someone, and it could even be the case that you're trying to undo some past life trauma inflicted on you in this lifetime. And the whole thing that I see when it's Taurus North Node, the North Node in the chart represents like the karmic mountain not yet climbed. And South Node is more so your been there, done that in past lives, but also it speaks to the magic that you have. And you're trying to go from the South Node to the North Node by using the South Node's powers. So the powers of Scorpio is the power to transform, to transmute, to go through these big death, rebirth, transformation periods, right? And that's also what Pluto is. Um, but I think one thing there would be the idea of power and the difference between real power, like real like positive power, which is found within, and power, when one tries to external power, when one tries to dominate to get their way, that kind of thing. um so yeah, that it's really important with people who have that to not try to dominate others, and whatnot. But yeah, I would say that also past lives you've had very strong alliances, and in this life it's really about you going into yourself and finding those resources, those internal resources, right, on your own. So an example of that would be like meditation, right? The ability to meditate to regulate your own energy. Like when you learn about a lot of spiritual things, self-help, like not self-help, but you know what I mean? Like the more you learn about like real mystical stuff, you can really like meet your own um spiritual needs, answer the deep questions you have on your own, right? And the South Node, where it is on the descendant, which is about relationships, that to me is saying that there's a past life tendency to rely too much, to be, it's not that you're not, that in this lifetime it's not meant for you to have relationships. It's just that there's a tendency to really, really have that like two souls becoming like coming together to form one, that really deep karmic like link up. And it's not that you're not supposed to have relationships, it's that you are supposed to really, really be moving towards finding this, like, what I call heaven on earth within yourself, right? That's so you're here, like, Taurus North Node is someone who's they've been through the difficult stuff in past lives. Like they've had difficult things happen to them, and they're here to try to heal. They're trying to get in touch with their body. They're trying to um find peace in this life. That's really what it is, through nature, through the senses, through art, through whatever that they love doing, and being in the present moment, right? That's the big thing, is being in the present moment. So yeah, and the fact that it's on your ascendant is just showing how, the challenge is, how can you balance out, um have still having like relationships, but also being independent, right? Like the extreme of seventh Libra to first Aries is, like, one extreme is codependency, and the other extreme is like selfishness. Like, I'm not willing to compromise at all, like, only about me, 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 me. So it's like finding the balance between that is really, really huge. Um, and yeah, so yeah, I think a big part of it, when and I have a lot of clients who have this type of thing, and for them at different ages, when I talk to them, it can feel difficult for them to be single. But it's like, even in relationships, it's the goal is to still preserve one's independence, right? So still preserving one's independence within relationships. Mm, let's see here. So yeah, um, yeah. So it really is a search for peace in this lifetime. And I know horrible things have happened. So so yeah. I mean, it's just that's what Taurus is all about. And what yoga could be, yoga, hiking, things like that, gardening, anything that engages the senses is really, really, really good. And yeah, just being able to be accountable for yourself, like to not need other people, in the sense of, like, being able to have the internal resources to handle yourself in different situations. And if there is any, like, karmic codependency stuff, yeah, just that could be something that potentially needs to get moved past. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have Mars and Scorpio too. What does it say if I click this? Yeah, so these give, like kind of funny ones. So the quest to overcome your distrust of change, to develop creative outlets for your intense emotions, and to avoid hitting out at loved ones. These attributes plagued you in this life because of suffering and traumatic endings in past lives, which left you with deep emotional wounds and a feeling of being cheated. In learning this life's lesson of trusting the process of change, you'll develop a newfound sense of peace and stability. So yeah, that's really what it's about with Scorpio Taurus, is trusting change, and here with Pluto South Node, I had a different take on it. They say you have a tendency to become embroiled in the dramas of life. You're familiar with the darker side of life. Your challenge is to rise above the negativity and use your resources for the good of others. Yeah. So yeah, when Pluto's involved with the nodes, it usually points to past life trauma, but it's a conjunction. So It could just be that, yeah, you're, very, very powerful person. But it could be, yeah, be someone who came in this life with a very, like, not like a darkness, like you being a dark person, but like an understanding, like people who are very like Scorpionic Plutonian, they have like this very deep understanding of like the dark side of humanity. Um, and I also have this, by the way. Mine's just a square, so mine's way worse. Mine reflects past life trauma. But for you, yeah, it's just, you come in this life, and a lot of people with the Pluto South Node stuff, they're, they might not have had like crazy traumatic events that have happened in this life like early on, but they feel like they came into this life um with trauma because, yeah, like for me, like I didn't have horrible, trauma in this life, but the way I acted, the way that I was like everything that, if you looked at me, you would think that I had a horrible, horrible childhood, So that's from the past life. So it could be something there. Um, so you have a really, really strong Mars in Scorpio. That's like the person who's made to be like a psychologist by nature. They just understand. It just gives you like a really good bullshit meter, and um just makes you really, really good at seeing the truth, and it makes you want to really go towards the truth and really go towards your own shadow. um so yeah, it's definitely interesting one. But yeah, it's a very strong Mars. So yeah, Mars and Scorpio people are very sexual people. They have a lot of spiritual energy. They really want to go deep into the unknown areas, the secrets of life, the taboo, and they don't, they tend to not just trust what they're told, and it can really make someone, they're not the enemy you want. Mars and Scorpio is not the person you want as an enemy. They can be very vengeful. It's just, it's a very strong Mars, and Mars is a planet of action. It's the assertiveness function. So yeah, like it just gives like a really, really power, like very, it makes someone very powerful, emotionally powerful. And also, just so you know, Mars has just moved into Scorpio today, by transit. So that will be this next like month and a half or so, will be very, you'll be having your Mars return. So look out for that. That could be a time of real vivacious energy. But yeah, like Mars and Scorpio, just it just adds, like, with it goes really well with it trines your moon. So it makes you have this really, really strong energy, ability to kind of feel past the undercurrents. Um, and it's really, really good for, for change, and it makes someone so fucking tough. Like Mars and Scorpio, you can never keep a Mars and Scorpio person down. Like they have the resources to bounce back from anything. Um, but yeah, like a lot of people, and this is completely linked to your chart, or like your nodal journey, is that like Mars and Scorpio people are not afraid to confront change. They accept the challenge of that change asked of them. They accept that challenge, and yeah, they allow for that, that death, rebirth, transformation of different parts of themselves, and they tend to go through life looking at themselves at different times and seeing these completely different versions where it's almost like it was an actress playing you at different phases. Like I know everyone goes through different phases, but for like that placement, it's more intense, especially in the eighth house. Um, but yeah, very, very intense, willful, great endurance. It just it creates a fighter, you know, like a true phoenix that rises from the ashes. Like whenever life knocks them down, they have that capability. Um, and they really, one thing I notice that I love about Mars and Scorpio is that they just see everything, and they value, because you know your Venus is in Capricorn, right? So it's like they value you value um honesty, integrity, and Mars and Scorpio is not afraid, especially as an Aries rising, to call someone out for their bullshit, right? It's also, you know, competitive. Um, but like when I say like that you don't want them as your enemy, it's not like Mars and Scorpio are evil people. No, it's just that like they're gonna stand up for people that they need to stand up for. Like it makes one very brave. And also they can be very obsessive, um, especially because it trines your moon. So it's like when you have an emotional connection to something, like let's say I always use this example because it's the most obvious one. But let's say you get really into astrology. You're like, wow, I want to learn it. That Mars and Scorpio energy, it gives you the ability to just be like to just go balls to the wall, like um, you know, just like have that extra reserve to learn and to just do everything in any area of life. Um, yeah, so just being able to have that determination, that focus on any goal. Um, and just someone who just loves to take on challenges. And yeah, I mean it also it creates someone who's very loyal in love, who wants like a very deep connection with the partner, and they need to be able to trust that person, obviously. I already said it's very sexual. That the struggle sometimes can be about like possessiveness and obsession. Um, but like it, you know, like it's all about having outlets for this really intense energy. And in your case, I'd imagine it'd be career, right? Um, where's Pluto? Yeah, and Pluto's in the eighth house too. So yeah, you could be like someone like you could definitely be like a, and if you're not a therapist or someone that does that kind of work, like you probably have this natural ability to help people understand themselves better, right? Because your Pisces moon senses the undercurrent, and then that Mars and Scorpio, they work together, you know? And then you have Neptune trining your south node. So you have powers from past lives. This is like definitely the chart of a past life mystic. Um, and yeah, you can accomplish a ton if you're able to challenge this strong energy in the right way, whether it's creative, you know, for a goal. It's like, yeah, when you figure out what your goal is, right? Because you're always developing that truth, remember? So you're developing that truth based on your experiences, and then you're able, very, very capable of just truly, and a big part of your North Node journey in Taurus is transforming things in the physical world, right? So yeah. Um, and another really cool thing about this placement is that it makes one not like, sometimes a Pisces moon might be afraid to express their emotions, or they might like shy away from what they're really feeling. But the Mars and Scorpio is not afraid to bring these things up, and diving headfirst into subjects that others might consider, you know, forbidden or dangerous. But also it makes one very inclined to truly explore like the depths of their emotions, right? And I wrote an article about people with Pisces, Scorpio, Capricorn moons, and mostly it was about men, just like who it's just too much, it's too sensitive, and they just block it out, right? Women obviously are better at that, and can can have great results with that, because like when we grow up, the boys play sports and fight with each other. Men, boys don't cry, but women can develop emotional friendships early on, right? So it's way better for a woman with a water moon in today's world. Um, yeah. So yeah, it is one, if not the best, one of the best uh placements you can have for growth and transformation, and just that willingness to go wherever it is that might be a little bit, might very ambitious, and just, yeah, that power. It's that Plutonian emotional power, and also just super aware. Like it's like it can make people cynical, but like it's a healthy type of cynical, because this is saving your um like, because the Pisces energy, right? It can be a little bit naive, but the fact that you have the Scorpio Mars, that's a game changer, because that will actually make the whole thing about boundaries a lot easier. Um, and yeah, the Moon trine Mars, I mean, that's really, really good for charisma. It's another one that people usually find that people with these very attractive, and Scorpio Mars usually are have a very, like, it's known as a sexy placement. Like they on an energetic level, like very, like there's like a mystique to it, and then draws people in. Um, so yeah, and yeah, the moon represents the public, and Mars represents attraction. So it really makes you have like kind of a very special kind of attractive energy, and also a very entertaining energy. Um, and yeah, people with that, like they need to express their feelings without holding back, right? Whether they're sad or happy, just going for it, right? Which is very, and it's very authentic and raw, and people love that when people are like that, right? Because yeah, like when people are open and honest, people absolutely love that in this very fake world. Um, and yeah, like when it comes to like what you really care about, you're someone who will fight for whatever that is, right? If it's a cause or whatever, you're someone who will go to wits ends for whatever that is. Um, yeah, it creates a lot of sexual magnetism. Yeah, it definitely makes one want to have a very strong-willed, adventurous type of partner. More on that. So, like with that energy, obviously, like just really needing to know I'm sorry, like I feel weird like saying like I'm basically in your chart saying what, based on your chart, what your love needs are, right? And I know what happened, but like this chart, will be good in like nothing in this chart changes, right? It's a natal chart, so it's the same forever. So yeah. Um, but yeah, so with the Capricorn energy, Capricorn, that Venus, it makes one really want to have very strong foundations to a relationship. They don't want, like, they definitely don't want to build something a building on sand. They want to build it on a strong foundation. They want, so like, um, accountability is really, really important. Loyalty, and someone who takes the relationship seriously. And someone who's truly serious about building something with you, right? And with your Mars and Scorpio, it's someone who also is willing to go to those, in your moon, your water moon, your moon in Pisces, your Mars and Scorpio, someone who's willing to go to those dark places when they need to be gone to, have those tough discussions. But also the Pisces moon, someone that allows you the space, who gives you your space when you need it, understands that you need alone time. Um, and who someone who kind of, you have that intuitive bond with, where it's like you can, that you guys can just kind of sense the undercurrents, right? Um, let's see. So yeah, like those two make a lot of sense together. Um, let me take a look at that. Yeah. And like, and this goes for friends, all that. Like, just you need good vibes. You need good vibes in all areas of life, right? Um, so also with the love stuff, because of the moon square Uranus, someone, yes, like someone adventurous, right? Someone who's willing to, kind of like almost like a gypsy kind of hippie kind of mind, like someone who's willing to. So there is a real mix of of something very solid, built on solid foundations. So then you can go out in the world on these adventures and know you can trust that person and just really experience a lot. But you I think if we talk about the need, I always look at the moon. And a Pisces moon needs to feel safe. They need to feel like they can continue, they can dream, like anything is possible. They need to have like, a good energy, like calm, peaceful energy, right? They don't want to be in a toxic situation. No one does, but especially a Pisces moon, because they can be so impacted by that person's energy. And they don't, one Pisces moon potential is to have rose colored glasses in love. Um, and ignore red flags and kind of like, you know, yeah. So it's just really, really important to have that realism. And yeah, taking things slow. But yeah, um, combining all that and then even descendant in Libra, really wanting, yeah, really like, yeah, it kind of goes with like the kind of balanced, peaceful, fair, quiet relationships. Like, not that there can't be any drama because the Uranus moon, it doesn't like things boring. It does want that intellectual connection, that ability to do things in a different type of way. Because like Capricorn's very traditional, but I would be surprised if you consider yourself a very traditional person, maybe in some ways, but um, yeah, yeah. I think with Venus, it's just with the sun, and then Mercury is unaspected. Wow, interesting. So yeah, Mercury. Oh, yeah, but I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, so overall, I would say that in a relationship, like based on the karmic stuff, um, where there is that balance not of not being codependent, so being able to have each person has their own lives, but then also not too much to the other extreme of like extremely independent, right? Like, so being able to compromise but not compromise yourself to where you lose your individuality in a relationship. So that's how I would put it. Um, okay, so Mercury has no aspects. That means that there's no checks and balances. So sometimes people with unaspected Mercuries can be a little bit. Sometimes they just say things. They can just like let things out without knowing it. So um like I knew an astrologer once who had an unaspected Mercury, and she would just say things sometimes like it was almost like she had nothing holding her back, like a very hyperactive mind. Um, over yeah, hyperactive, like going like things moving too fast. And there can be nonstop talking, nonstop like this constant rumination. So like meditation and grounding is really important. So it's a very like wild mental energy, but it can be harnessed towards something productive. That's the whole key, right? And this also can be really really good for learning, researching, whatever. You're very very capable of pivoting your life and going into whatever direction you want to based on what you really feel. Um, but yeah, it's very very good for good communication skills and obviously like a good brain moving fast. It's just like you have you have a 9 horse carriage. It's like, how do you get all those horses to go in the same place? So like, grounding is obviously very important. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, like like Pisces moons when they're stressed, they really want to just be alone. And like when they fight, like the best thing I think for Pisces moons is to just go spend time alone. Like let's say they're with their friend, their family, their lover, whatever. It's like they feel so much on their emotional bodies that sometimes they just need to go on a walk or just go have some time alone. And then when they calm down, they'll come to the realizations they need, you know? But yeah, and then also Pisces moon, a lot of times there is a lot of empathy that they have. They have a strong empathy with their mother, for their mother. Um, but I've seen cases where it is yeah, as I said earlier, taken too far. The mother is like very toxic. So I'm not saying that's the case for you, but yeah. Um, yeah. And yeah, the 12th house moon is like very, it can create a loner. Um, but yeah. Okay. But what must be said is that I use whole sign houses, and in Placidus houses, your moon would be in the 11th house. So, um, I believe, let me see, 28. Hold on. 13 plus 28. Okay. Divided by 3. Okay, so around 14, 13 and a half. 43 and a half. Let me actually look at that. Oh, no. So even in Placidus, your moon's in the 12th house. And actually, yeah, not much. Some stuff changes, but not in terms of like the overall message. But yeah, I mean, like you definitely have a very, very deep, very deep when it comes to like okay, so with your South Node and Pluto, like Pluto on the descendant, that so I know what happened with your husband. Like Pluto on the descendant can literally be that exact thing in your chart. Um, like Pluto is the planet of death, but the symbolism is that it's usually not physical death. The people with Pluto on the descent, they usually have very intense relationships. A lot of times, the relationships, like they teach them a lot about their own trauma. So a lot of mirroring happens. A lot of there can be lots of projection, but basically it can create very, especially early on, very dramatic relationships. But what happens in those relationships ends up being a perfect. It's like where they find their shadow, and the shadow doesn't necessarily come from those people. Then Mars is also there, so it can make quite dramatic relationships where there's like fighting, power struggles. So yeah, it is really about finding the yeah, best kind of relationships. I already went into that, but yeah, it's very like really taking time to figure out who the people are and whatnot. Okay. Interesting. So you have that Uranus energy, and then you have your Chiron and Gemini. So Chiron and Gemini people, a lot of times they feel because they might have had like a different way of thinking, a different way of seeing the world early on, especially with like your ninth house the way it is, they often feel when they're younger that there's like something wrong with their way of thinking. I get it a lot with my clients. And the story I hear the most is that it's almost like they were ahead of their time when they're younger. Like maybe they had different types of interests, um, outside the box kind of stuff, very rebellious type of thinking. Um, Maybe not the most agreeable in terms of like just um, you know, just mixing in with everyone else, kind of, yeah, more independent thought. So it can the Chiron, which is the wound, but one, where you need healing, the wounded healer archetype in Gemini, yeah, usually people have a message early on that they're not smart, or that there's something wrong with their thinking, and um, the healing comes by, in communicating too. It can make someone like afraid of communication. Um, it just comes through the expression of emotions, and like literally the thing of filming yourself could be the cure to that. So yeah. Um, and just, yeah, like kind of like over time seeing, um, you know, that you are smart, right? And to kind of overcome any fears. A lot of people with that, they have like some kind of communication problem as a kid. Um, so, or like just like early schooling could have been painful, but yeah, it can create great teachers, someone who can like really tap into the universal kind of unconscious, like the collective unconscious, like these big spiritual ideas. So yeah. Um, and yeah, you can definitely be someone who can get like, if you're like meditating, or you can get like the downloads, like they just come to you and you're just like, whoa, meditating, dreams, all that, like you can just receive cosmic downloads, and that's very, very cool. Um, but yeah, like that seventh house is rough, Scorpio, and um, I mean, I know Libra is a sign, it's a descendant, but still, it has Scorpio, and yeah, so it's on your south node too. So everything that happened that's showing your chart was very karmic. Seventh house, marriage, south node, past life karma, Pluto, death. That's literally in the chart. Like, I'm not joking. Um, and I know it's horrible, but like, I'm not just saying this. Like, um, and if it's in the chart, like, I'm never the astrologer that's gonna say something to make someone feel like I say it how it is. And to me, it's like it doesn't take away the pain, but it shows the universal connection of everything. Even if I didn't know what happened, um, I may not have said, that, like, because I don't make those types of predictions, but I would have said something like, there could be like lots of drama, potentially even violence, um, the theme of death, rebirth, transformation being very, very heavy in your romantic relationships, and very, very based on your karma, like very, very karmic um, types of love that are very, very deep. And yeah, it's and Pluto is death. So yeah, it's some kind of past life thing. And then I think your life, a big part of life purpose now, because everything's synchronistic, you getting this reading now, I think there's a reason to that. I think it's because now you're trying to move towards yourself right now, and you're trying to find that Taurus North Node within yourself, that heaven on earth within yourself. Um, yeah. And so one aspect of your chart, Black Moon Lilith. Um, so Black Moon Lilith is kind of like it's not a planet, it's kind of like our how we self-defeat, how we self-sabotage, and it's just the potential. So in Taurus, it makes perfect sense. That can be someone who potentially might be stubborn, and in the sense of like not wanting to move towards the changes that they like, the death, rebirth, transformation, the letting go of the old, letting in the new. There can be some issues with that. Um, and hold on. So yeah. Um, Also there can be a fear of poverty with that. Sometimes people with that can be too much about like accumulating wealth based on like filling some type of void. So yeah, it's just really important because like sometimes they'll try to fill some type of void with money and possessions and stuff like that. So it's about like filling that void through developing those internal resources, like I want to explain that a little bit better from example of my life. Like I wrote a book, by the way. It's called Pisces Live Nine Lives. It's very much about healing, and just like every chapter is like its own book. I make like $3 a copy on Amazon if you're ever interested. But um yeah, like I I talk about my life and basically how I had an addiction issue to this benzodiazepines that were prescribed to me. Never ever touched them. It's the worst thing ever. Like anti-anxiety medication. And I had like a bunch of seizures. It was like a long time ago, right? And um when I got clean from that and went to rehab and did all these things, that like, and then I went to this like Buddhist school, um, and I had like lots of spiritual friends and was just doing so much, like meeting different spiritual teachers, like every single, or whether it was like reading books, that have like great metaphors that I can turn to in times of need, like spiritual books. Like that's what I mean by internal resources. Because like let's say like a really tough time comes out and I had just read this book that had this amazing perspective, then in like all I can like look at a situation, let's say instead of playing like looking at like I'm the victim, I start to look at it like, oh, this is the karmic challenge, you know? Um, or even like learning to meditate, to regulate my energy, learning about my birth chart, right? Learning about the my the self-limiting beliefs one might have. Those all there's just so much, it can be done through therapy, through learning, more about astrology, whatever, right? And like sometimes I work with clients because I'm a therapist also. I have two masters in psychology, so I sometimes have clients who come back where it's like an ongoing thing, right? We see each other like every week or every 2 weeks, and we basically just continue to go further in a more, obviously it's live, duh. Um, we continue to go further based on the themes brought up in the birth chart, right? Because when me and you talk, because the next reading you already have the current astrology, I believe, so the next one will be live, unless you prefer for me to not do that live. And yeah, we'll talk about the nail chart. So the first hour will be first hour will be you comparing your lived experience with what I said. Most people take notes, watch it a few times, and then hour 2 and 3 is the current astrology, like a year ahead for you, and kind of like where you're at, which is always changing, astrological, like understand the astrological weather for you. Um, but yeah, like yeah, um, I totally just lost my train of thought. I was talking about, yeah, the resources. So yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And then in good times, finding different things that will help you during bad times. So that's really what this massive part of your chart is speaking about. Okay, let's open this up. So Yeah, you could also, so with Neptune, it's in the ninth and Placidus 10th. Um, you could in whole sense, but what I want to say about that is that you could there can be a sort of perfectionism that runs with Capricorn already, where it's like 100 or 0. That's like with Capricorn and Virgo. They can be very like overly self-critical. So it's really important to look at your internal messaging and to make sure that it's not that you're not holding yourself back by any bad negative self-talk. But interesting. It's so interesting that you have no Saturn aspects, but then just supposes Chiron's the unaspected Saturn. But yeah, like ninth house Neptune, to me, that is someone who might always be looking for the perfect philosophy and sort of have a perfectionism when it comes to philosophy or life philosophy. So, it's just important to know that, you do your best. If every day is on a scale of 0 to 100, some days you're only going to be able to get 40, right? Some days you're going to be able to do 80. But it's really important for Capricorn's people to not overwork because sometimes they do that. Um, like it's great to be driven and everything, but there is a need for balance with Capricorn. Capricorn. Cancer's home life, internal life. Capricorn is outer life, more masculine, right? So it's about balancing those two. Internal life, time alone, Pisces moon, um, going out in the world, fulfilling your dharma. Also, what I'll say about North Node in Taurus too is it could be like a karmic, like that could be like a very like karmic entrepreneurial type thing, like where there's some like high karma of you being an entrepreneur and actually making money. But yeah, um, like just I would say more about the piece about self-reliance and independence and kind of that process of individuation, how important that is. Okay, let me see the one other thing I want to say about your unaspected Venus is that that people with that can be like less inclined to become scattered and distracted. They can be, especially with Mars and Scorpio, they can be very, very focused. Um, but yeah, very, very quick and changeable. But there can be some nervousness too, right? That can come from that potential rumination. So it's really good to meditate and to kind of like ground your energy. But the fact that you have it in an Earth sign is really, really good. But yeah, with Saturn unaspected, it can make someone um there can be some inhibition that can come from that, feeling inhibited. Maybe even like inferiority complexes. Um, but really, I would say that it really intensifies one's ambition, and it really makes one want to go towards, here's my magic cat. This is my astrologer cat, Esme. She has her own Instagram. It's at Esme, EZME cat astrology. Esme! You heard her noise and she ran away. I usually have her work for me. I show her the chart and she looks at the thing. Esme, come here. Esme, come here, Esme. No, Mika, you're not the cat astrologer. Esme, come here. Esme, 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 Esme. Come here, Esme. Come here, Esme. Okay, we're gonna wait for her to come. Mika, no. Esme. So yeah, so I think with Black Widows and Taurus, it's all about just just really accepting change, and just with Pluto in general, it's just, you can't change. There's things in life where you just can't change, and it's just about, you know, like having enough space in your life to have flexibility, right? A lot of people fill up their life to where they're completely full, and if a new opportunity or a change of plans comes up, um, they can't just say, "Hey, I'm gonna go do this," or "I'm gonna go," I think life is meant to be an adventure. So yeah, but I would say with that one, it's very much is just not being stubborn, not being dogmatic, not being like unwilling to try on a new philosophy or a worldview. Just always being willing to learn and transform. Okay, Esme, are you look at the planet that I need to focus on? Okay, please. Esme, I hate when you do this. Esme, look. Ooh, Uranus. Thank you, Esme. See, she stared at it for a while. I swear she does this. It's like she's like nearly always on point. Okay, so she called out that Uranus, which is actually your Uranus is my that's so interesting. Your Uranus is my moon. So that mean and so that means that whatever I've said today might inspire your individuality in some way. It might like there might be some like sudden change that comes that's triggered from me as a 21 Sag moon, me triggering your Uranus. Yeah, that could be some type of exciting thing or not. But yeah, but yeah, so but what Esme was looking at, so she said that because she wanted me to re-speak about how you're not meant to be like everyone else. Like you are very, you are your own person. And also because they fall, because the 11th house is Aquarius, you are meant to be parts of groups and be with people who you can be yourself around and who push you to be your like the closest to your authentic self, your more individuated self. And um, whether it's joining groups for that have a certain cause, um, things like that. But yeah, just like the whole idea of the road less traveled. And also your Juno is in Aquarius, so this is a lot, and it's with Saturn, so that speaks really heavily about Juno is like what you like. It's like kind of like a marriage level relationship, right? Like what someone would like. And then when it's in Sagittarius, it could be someone from a different country, or it could be someone who's very philosophical, very open minded, very adventurous. But then Saturn's on it, so that adds. It's kind of a very good summary, like the adventurous, the fun, the philosophical, all that learning together. But then Saturn is like, but also grounded and also very, very, like the Venus in Capricorn, like very, very strong. You know, um, ba yeah, like everything's very, very solid. The foundations are very, 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 very solid. Okay. Also, you have to watch. Yeah, so I already said this, but you just again, you really have to watch out for perfectionism in your career. I see that all over. Um, And yeah, Venus and Capricorn people usually are quite good with their money, quite responsible with their money. And usually they don't have that much luck with relationships for the first 30 years. Not necessarily, I mean, it's not badly aspected though. So, um, but they can be quite shy early on. Um, and they tend to form relationships slowly, which is very, very good for having a Pisces moon. But they want them to be very enduring. And yeah, most people with that, they don't form that many close relationships early on in life, but post Saturn return, they're able to have very solid and committed relationships, right? Because everything with Saturn gets better with time, and that goes for your whole Capricorn, right? You passed your Saturn return probably what, like 6 years ago or something like that, 6 or 7, maybe. Yeah, actually probably 7 or 8, 7, I guess. But yeah, so cool, cool, cool. All right, so Black Mirrors. Also, if you are someone who does have a lot of money, um, it would be very important not to show that off. I'm not saying you do or anything like that. I'm just saying Black Lilith in the second house, um, people can get very jealous of that if it's the case. Um, so yeah, then your part of fortune. So this is the part of your chart that relates to just like your where your flow state, and it's with Palace. So that makes in Gemini. So that makes you super expert planner. Like you're a chess player of life. You see the big picture. Very very versatile mind. It's very good for intelligence to have Palace in Gemini. Like really, you can grasp many concepts. Um, really really good speaker, writer, all that stuff. And yeah, um, that gives very yeah very like very very good communication skills and someone who wants to acquire knowledge. And so the fact that you're part of fortunes in Gemini in the third house, that basically talks about how for you your joy, your flow state, it comes when you are learning and communicating. And like with Gemini, just communicating in general, living in the present moment is so important, right? That's with your Taurus North Node too. Like you're here to be in the present, not stuck in the past, not stuck in the future, in the present. Um, so yeah, like the more you develop your mind, the better it is for you, right? The more that you're able to allow yourself to speak and to have different people you speak to, and the more things you learn, that's great, right? Also, there could be if you have siblings. Oh, yeah, duh. Um, if you guys, yeah, I mean, it could be a very healing relationship. It could be a relationship that has its issues. But it can also be a very healing relationship where you guys really help heal each other. But Chiron third house also could bring up the idea of having some level of pain related to a sibling. Pain but it's not like um it's not aspected badly. So yeah. But you do have Saturn opposite Chiron, and that's another one where there's like that kind of struggle for authority and um or I guess struggle like with authority and any kind of restrictions. And a lot of times, like the father, with that it can be like or could have been overly strict, and there can be like a fear of rejection after that. And then you know it can also bring like this feeling of like these feelings of like hopelessness, and then that can lead to one attracting a partner who repeats that pattern. So it's really about facing the emotional pain in a very hands-on, disciplined manner. And then from that, you discover this natural sense of authority within yourself, and also this deep wisdom. But yeah, um, okay. So Ceres is in Virgo. So Ceres is kind of like your second moon, but not as important. And you feel very nurtured and cared for when you're helping people, when you're being of service to people, and also when other people help you. Especially when other people help you perfect your skills in something. Like, so yeah, it's just Sirius and Virgo are just very nurturing people that really like to give back. They like to do the little small things that, yeah. So yeah, yeah, having Moon and Pisces and Sirius in Virgo, it's like someone who's really like if you're being of service in your work, like that is so perfect. Okay. So Vertex and Libra creates very fated relationships, where you feel like you're destined to meet that person, and um, it just makes it feel like these relationships touch your soul very deeply. And it can even be like a business partner, someone you work with can open up new doors for you. And yeah, like it just is one of those things where it's like a high level of fate with like when you meet them, when relationships end, all that stuff. Um, and then yeah, the anti-vertex would be in Aries, so that would, draw you to people um who kind of motivate you to follow your independence and follow your dreams and be in that individuation. Um, and then also at important like crucial times in your life, people who have the sign Libra or they have like a strong Venus, those people will karmically come like you'll meet people with that who will really help you through tough times, like faded ones. Okay. Also with respect to like traveling, I think you probably have like a lot of like really exciting travel stories, like lots of exciting things that can happen when you go traveling. And yeah, even with Neptune, if you look at it in the 10th house, that's just someone, someone who wants to be of service to through their profession, right? And sometimes there's like a feeling of like sacrificing something more ego, what the ego wants, in order to give back in the best way possible for career. And yeah, Vesta on your sun, like I said, just makes you very dedicated to your career and makes you have that discipline, but watch out for that perfectionism because it can be very, very self-critical. And then sometimes that self-criticism can, um, project outwards to other people. But yeah, usually with that, there's like difficulty with settling into one career path, right? So I've, that's something that's come up many times, hasn't it? Um, yeah, super ambitious and in a company like workers would turn to you for a sense of stability and authority. Like you naturally have that. As Capricorn's the boss. I always say if there's four people who are exactly equally qualified for the big CEO CFO job and they're exactly the same, the person with the Capricorn energy is getting that job. So yeah, it just really makes people come off as just legitimate. All right, let's look at stars. Let's see if we got any fixed stars, and then we'll end it. All right. Did I do another 2 hour one? And file 152. Jesus. Okay. Let's see. Well, so you actually have one of the asteroids. It's not smack on your moon, but the asteroid that rules astrology, Urania, is with your moon. So it's interesting. I teach astrology one-on-one, and I've actually had a few of my students um who've had that, and I've seen that, and I have this on my midheaven, and I've seen lots of astrologers who have this Urania heavy in their chart. Okay, so that's 21. Interesting. So your sun moon midpoint, that's where if your sun's here, your moon's here, they meet here. That is right on your Jupiter. So that just makes your humanitarian work, your major life goals, like the sign of Aquarius is how you bring together the Capricorn and the Pisces, right? The mystical you and the worker you. It's by doing something that combines them, and um, you know, also with like the groups you're a part of, all that that really moves you towards that individuation. Okay. And I was sensing this. I didn't say it, but I was sensing it. You have the Lilith asteroid on your Venus and Sun. So that is the woman that is not here to be messed with. And you already have Mars and Scorpio, Aries rising. So that is like they link it to feminism, but it's not about that. It's just an example. It's like the woman who like kills it in the masculine world, essentially, right? So yeah, it just creates like a woman not to be messed with, a very, very strong-willed woman who can, really make things work for herself in this very masculine patriarchy. Ooh, look at that. So you have Vega. Wait, all these are so close together, you have no idea. Rookbot. Vega is 15, 17. Vega's 215 away. Okay, so Rookbot with Midheaven. Okay, let's see what that's about. Vega is kind of far, but whatever. And then how far are these two from each other? Too far. Okay, oh, never mind. So Zubin Shalami is on your Mars, so that's related to like herbs, um, and magic. So yeah, the fact that you have that is very interesting. That's like some real witch stuff. And then Lilith, you already have, the witch asteroid. So I was saying that earlier with that witch energy, telling you, not something I say all the time either. Okay. All right. That should be good. No. Okay. Mercury. So Mercury's with Vega closer. So let's look at Vega. Vega is a very good money one. So these are fixed stars in close conjunction to the planet. Um, okay. So yeah, so midheaven with Vega is high success with promise. Um, a lot of politicians will have that in their natal chart, like influential people. It's really good for business, and it's very good for occupations of a Venus nature, like anything artistic, dealing with beauty, nurturing. And then Vega with Mercury. So yeah, it just says that these natives can be quite outspoken, which may also create problems. They can make enemies, some perhaps unknown, and there can be setbacks um, from those. So that just once again speaks to the importance of having that Mars and Scorpio third eye open at all times with people and really, really plugging into them. So Zubin El Shalami. Let's see what So Sappho is close to Saturn. Okay, that is weird stuff. Yeah, so that was Saturn. I think it just, it's like about like bonding with women and personal aesthetic. So that can make one have like a more Saturn, a more it's in Sag though, but yeah, it can make a little bit more of like a conservative in that sense. Mm, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, that'd make you really want to like travel and go on adventures with friends, close friends, and learn a lot. And yeah, like yeah, because it's in the ninth house, just in Sag, and in the ninth house, the house of Sag. Um, it says yeah. So I think in love, it could also yeah, it could definitely speak to that the kind of conservative nature potential, right? Let's see what it says though. So kind of a long thing. Oh, it doesn't let me read it. Cool. Whatever. Okay, so Zubin El Shalami is with your Mars. So it says high ambition, success through energy, influential possession, forceful writer and speaker. And it says the star imparts to its native an ambitious nature of enthusiastic kind, vigorous and aggressiveness, um, oratorical ability, open-minded and frank. So you have so much talking about how good of a speaker you can be. Um, the native can rise to influential position in society, and then mix in that also being like very much about like ceremonies and herbs and witchy stuff. So Rupa is one that's the closest here. So it's around the midheaven, and it's another one that's very very good for success. So Capricorns are known to be very successful, and when you have Rupa or Vega, it's you know on the midheaven. There you go. This one is also linked to potential inheritance and honor. It also talks about horses. I don't know if that's a random thing. If you're really into horses, then tell me. We'll talk. All right. And is there anything? Um, what does that do? Does that have anything? Well, your part of fortune is with Bellatrix, and Bellatrix is it's good for wealth. Yeah, just a great strategist, as I said before. So yeah, if you can be in any kind of position that involves having strategy, like that kind of chessboard strategy, that's really, really good. All right, I'll check one more thing and then we'll be done. Print screen, and then we'll go reports. So your Mercury is unaspected and out of bounds. So that means that you're thinking, you're speaking, like it's so unique, and it's like there's nothing, like your Mercury is so out there. Like it's really, really like not like it's really so much free will with your thinking and with your communication. And yeah, so you might even have like a different way of speaking and thinking. Like you might like speak in a different way than what the dominant culture tells you to like speaking style. And yeah, very different thinking style. And yeah, definitely can like disappear sometimes and not want to talk to people. You might feel a little bit alone, like because this is like a very, very good like potential for being very, very intelligent. So you might feel a little bit like people don't understand you. Welcome to the club. If that's the case. Um, yeah, but yeah, it is like really like undeniable genius placement. Um, like it can make like a really good poet in Capricorn. Like a slam poet. But yeah, it's just like not following like standard like cultural standards for you know how like with talking, like for example, like not returning texts when they like only returning texts when they feel ready. That's what I do. Do I have Mercury out of bounds? I don't think so. And just maybe having like a different type of sense of humor. Um Being able to like in some aspect there can be very like kind of surprising statements and observations and things they say. Like people are like, "What? She said that?" Um, yeah, so it's just fun. Yeah, yeah. So it's unaspected and out of bounds. It has to do with declination. So it's um, like Mercury's like super, super low, past the 23 point something um benchmark. All right, let me just double check everything. Oh yeah, last aspect, Mars square Jupiter. You just need to develop self-discipline. That can make someone a little bit like sometimes over the top when it comes to reaching their goals, and it's just um all about not going like not jumping into things too fast, you know? So yeah, yeah. All right. Got it. Cool. Well, thank you so much. 2 hours, 9 minutes. Longest one in a while. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Hope, and once again, so sorry about what happened to you. My blessings, my prayers. My cats. I have 5 cats. Can't really see them. Too dark. But they say hi, and yeah. So take this in. Let me know if you have Instagram at Jesse Innocent Astro, or actually email is better. Jesse Innocent Astrology at gmail.com. And as I said, you already have that reading paid for. So most people watch this a few times. First time, just let it flow. And then after that, if you want to watch again, then you can take notes. And the follow up is just really, really good for us to kind of put the puzzle together fully. So yeah. So yeah, just take your time, and whether your sister reaches out to me to set that up, or if you prefer for me to do it as a recording, that's fine too. I would, and if that were the case, though, I would want just to have like some questions. Like I would want something written up, kind of explaining, where just questions you have about what you're going through, because that, like, this type of astrology, like, I don't want to know anything, right? But with current astrology, it's better. That's why I like to have it in a dialogue manner, because I like to see the correlations of what's happening with what I see, and then that enables me to give a better reading. But I can do good readings either way for sure. So yeah, let me know. Thank you. Ciao.